Welcome to a new series that I will be making on my YouTube channel. In this series, we will be basically going over each and every single weapon that I feel like you need a guide on to really kind of get into them and get the camos that you need in zombies. Now, this will specifically be for zombies, and I will be going over the weapon itself, some tips and tricks for each of the camos, and I'll try to do it in as short amount of time as possible just to not keep you long. Now, I made a poll on my community tab and I asked people if I should do this, if I should do like guides like this. And let's just say it was a big competition between Yes and Mr. Squid. Unfortunately, Squid did not win, and obviously that poll is still going ahead, so if you maybe want to contribute, go ahead. Before we fully get into it, just want to quickly say, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. It really helps out the YouTube channel, and also drop a like on the video, which also I will heavily appreciate. But without further ado, let's get into the first weapon of the series, which is going to be the Pelington 703 or the 703. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the attachments, and I'll go fly through them and explain to you why I recommend these. Obviously, you can use your own attachments and things you want, but this is just kind of what I use when I was going for the diamond / plague diamond. Wait, that's the same thing. / gold and dark ether. So for the optic, I use the Axial Arms 3x or 3 times. Basically the ACOG scope kind of looking optic. It's really good and I felt really comfortable using it. You could use a red dot sight, but I feel like with this I was just kind of being more accurate with my shots. Moving on to the muzzle, I use the sound moderator. Now yes, this is basically a suppressor, but the reason I opted for this muzzle was because it didn't really affect my aim down sight, and if you already know, the speed of aim down sight on snipers is ridiculously slow, so I just wanted to not affect that as much as possible. Yes, it's a sniper, but apart from that, it just increased your equipment drop rate and just decreased your bullet velocity, which I really didn't notice a huge difference. Moving on to the barrel, I use the first barrel you unlock, which is the 25-inch extended, and that's because it then increases your bullet velocity that you lost with the muzzle. I'm trying to do these attachments as kind of fair as possible because I know leveling up of weapons is really difficult, and I'm just trying to not stay on the leveling up side of things, just trying to explain to you what is best to use. Moving on to the body, I use the Tiger Team Spotlight because this increased salvage drop rate, and you really need this because you were then able to increase the rarity of the weapon in the game, which really is essential with the snipers, but I'll get into that later. Definitely have something that will be increasing your salvage drop rate 100%. For the under barrel, I use the Bruiser Grip. This increases a lot of things. It's really low in the increasing side of things. It increases each one of these by 3%. Movement speed, sprinting move speed, shooting move speed, and aim walking movement speed. The reason I chose this is because it does give you mostly pluses and no downsides to it, and all of those are a good way to have increased. Moving on to the magazine, I use the Salvo 9 round fast mag. This increases a lot of things, but it also will decrease your aim down sight by only 10%, which isn't big, but obviously you could opt for a different one that won't decrease your aim down sight, but most of them do apart from the first one. So this is the last one that you unlock, and increases your magazine ammo capacity, your reload quickness, max starting ammo, and on top of that ammo capacity, so you don't have to continuously go and buy your ammunition and pointlessly waste your points. Moving on to the handle, I use the Airborne Elastic Wrap, which increases your aim down sight by 12%, flinch resistance by 90%, which isn't really that needed, but it also increases your aim while going prone, which, saying that now, it's stupid. It does decrease some things, but I think this is one of the slightly better ones as it does give you more pluses than minuses. Moving on to the last attachment, which is the stock. I use the SAS Combat Stock. It increases your shooting movement speed and aim walking movement speed. Honestly, most of these are kind of okay in a way. You won't really be using these as much in a game, but this is all for the attachments. Now, one thing that I want to point out now is always be on top of your pack-a-punching and leveling up of the weapon, because these snipers are not the greatest in the game. I will be getting onto the worst ones later. The Pelington isn't the worst of all, but it's definitely not good, and that's why I'm starting off with the snipers. I want to quickly talk about some of the camo challenges. I won't be going over every single one. The first one is critical kills. Basically, what I recommend doing is quick scoping. If you don't know what quick scoping is, it's basically like aiming in really quickly and shooting. Don't be aimed in for a long amount of of time because this will be kind of letting the zombies get to you faster. The thing that I recommend for you to run is Ring of Fire. It will be increasing your weapon damage on the zombies, so use that as many times as possible. You could, if you're playing on Die Maschine, use the Top of Nocturne Totem strategy, but honestly I just recommend training around anywhere where you feel comfortable and you feel like you're at a good enough distance to go for those critical shots and quick scope. You could be on flat surfaces as well, but honestly I really recommend aiming in and out and use Deadshot Daiquiri. It's literally the most essential thing for critical kills. Moving on to the elite kills real quick. Basically aim for their head with Ring of Fire. You will be basically flying through this. Now the only difficulty that you will have with this is probably the fact that you will have other zombies and they'll get in the way, but if you, let's say, leave one or maybe just mid round and changing in between and you still have an elite, turn that on, shoot him in the head, then shoot the splits in the head, and you will get this done with ease. But another strategy to get those elites really fast but slightly more difficult is by doing the Easter egg, because if you do not know, in the Easter egg there's a bunch of elites that will spawn in the boss fight that will all count as one elite most of the time, because they're all basically splits, and that is the easiest and fastest way to get a bunch of them. But I don't recommend using the sniper for the whole game. Definitely like maybe use a different gun and then hit the box to see if you can get the Pellington, but aside from that you could just play out a normal game because the critical shots will take you a lot of time. And on to the last camo before we end the video is kills without getting hit. I recommend starting off each game getting those kills at the beginning. Why do I say this? It's because at the beginning of each game you will have less crazy zombies and you will be able to take your time and keep your distance away from those zombies. Be sure to go for those critical kills, and once you get, let's say, one stage of that camo done or even two, back out of your game and go back in. I don't recommend sticking out because it will just make the process too long, and you can speed it up by dying and then coming back in, starting all over if that's the challenge you are mostly struggling with. That's going to be for the video. I'm sorry if it's longer than I said. There was just a few things I had to say, but I'm just trying to do this as fast as possible. This is the first kind of video in this series, so if you want more videos like this, be sure to subscribe, like, as I've already said, and I will see you in the next guide or whatever my next video is, but it should be on both the LW3 sniper rifle and the Pupu PP M82 sniper rifle. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.